Welcome and to our live webcast today. You are live with Lisa. I am Lisa Berlin, owner of Great Escapes, and I create personalized custom travel experiences for my clients. Today, I am very excited to bring to you Great Escapes pre-launch for Egypt and the Nile River cruise for February 2023. And I have worked directly with AmaWaterways to secure exclusive dates and rates for my clients. And this is a highly sought after and incredibly popular experience. And booking in advance is likely the way that you will be able to reserve space for yourself. So on the screen today with me, I am so delighted to have Brandon Oscarson, who is my rep for AmaWaterways. Hi,
Hello.
Brandon.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
So delighted. And also we have a star guest today, the curator of this fabulous trip, who is AmaWaterways resident Egypt expert and travel designer, Todd Ney.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Todd.
I can't see you guys. Can you see me? So
Yes, we can see everything what you're doing, and thank you for dressing for the occasion with your Egypt hat. This is very festive, so we appreciate that. So I am hosting with Brandon and Todd today, and so I have several 2022 and 2023 special group departures, and we'd love for you to join us. And Brandon, provide our viewers today with a brief outline about AmaWaterways' outstanding service and where Ama sails before we kind of get into a little bit of the Egypt program.
Oh, yeah. So AmaWaterways, we are the highest rated river cruise line in the industry, especially over in Europe. We cruise primarily in Europe. However, we also cruise the Mekong Delta through Vietnam and Cambodia. We cruise the Chobe River in Africa, which Todd puts all of these amazing itineraries together. And we're actually the only river cruise line that does cruising with safari options. And we are super excited. We're going to talk a lot about this today. This is why we are here. We are going to have our AmaDahlia sailing on the Nile River in Egypt, September of this year.
Well, you know, and some of the fascinating, for people who don't know a little bit about AmaWaterways, myself and Brandon have done a series of live chats like this where we focus about what the specifics are and the benefits to our clients for when they sail on AmaWaterways through Europe and Africa and the Asia product as well, the rivers there. And my focus as a travel advisor is to bring meaningful and rewarding, immersive travel experiences to my clients. And I love visiting with my clients and getting to know them and finding out what the special meaning is going to be for them and adding it to their encounter. And I seek out curated travel experiences, and when AmaWaterways introduced the Egypt product and this Egypt and Nile cruise, I was immediately engaged. This is created by Todd, who is just so well traveled and so experienced and credentialed, and the itineraries that he has created for this include some of the most exclusive behind the gates access led and with cultural encounters and experiences. And so right now, just think about this. It's February 11th right now, and how about waking up the same day in Cairo, and you're waking up at the Four Seasons that's set alongside the Nile River, and you are about to encounter and explore Egypt and Cairo and begin your discovery, because that is the day that our special group departure is for February 2023. And so this AmaWaterways journey to Egypt is like no others. There's an immersive 7-night Nile River cruise on a brand new ship. There's thoughtful timing for balanced and paced guided explorations with Egyptologists. And this, the price for the experience includes everything, as Todd will tell us about. And if you have been intrigued by fascinating Egypt, this is the experience that you must treat yourself to. Todd is here today, and he is going to walk us through the pages of history. He is going to tell you about stories of ancient cultures that you will get to experience when you go on this trip. And so, Todd, we are so delighted. Thank you for joining. I'm going to turn the time over to you, and let me just change screens. So, Todd, the time is yours.
Okay, so can you all see the map?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Todd, and I'm talking to you from Los Angeles today. And first thing I want to do is point out the location of Egypt. Many of you may know, but it's on the northeastern corner of the continent of Africa, Mediterranean to the north, Red Sea to the south or to the east. And on the map here, I've got Israel, Jordan, and the UAE or Emirates. Israel and Jordan are pre and post extensions for this program. For Dubai, it won't be on this particular departure. All right, our program for Egypt is 3 nights in Cairo, 7 nights up and down the Nile, and then 1 night in Cairo at the end. And again, you have the option with Lisa to do Jordan at the beginning and Israel at the end. All right, let's first talk about Cairo. And Cairo itself, massive city, kind of chaotic, 22, 23 million people. Cairo's been around since about the 9th century. And weekends in Cairo or in Egypt in general, Fridays and Saturdays, as opposed to Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays here. And the Nile flows through the heart of Cairo. The Nile, they say, is the longest river in the world. And it is, I think, but they also say the Amazon's also the longest. And either way, they're both around 4,300 miles long. Egypt was founded back in around 3100 BC. And when I say Cairo was a massive city, even in the 14th century, there were already 500,000 people living here. So just a fun fact, I guess, of the Egyptians or the ancient Egyptians, it was the Egyptians that actually came up with the 365-day-a-year calendar. And if I didn't say it, Egypt, Arabic word for conqueror, or Cairo, an Arabic word for conqueror. So let's first talk about our new ship, the AmaDahlia. And the AmaDahlia is, it's a new ship, and I have to say kind of, sort of. And the reason for that is on the Nile, you cannot, they only issue a certain amount of licenses to ships. And so no new licenses are being issued. So the only way to get onto the Nile is to purchase a ship, and that's our license to sail. So we did purchase a ship a couple of years ago, and we took it out of service and we threw it in put it in the shipyard in Cairo. And for the last 2 years, it's been completely stripped down to its hull and rebuilt up. So it's a brand new ship. Actually, we just launched it in the Nile about maybe 14 days ago. So it's sitting in Cairo right now. We've got about 8 months before we start sailing on the Cairo to get everything perfect, no issues whatsoever. The ship itself, 34 cabins, 18 are standard cabins, 16 are suites. Actually, let's go take a look at the layout of the ship. We've got 5 decks: acacia, lotus, lily, jasmine, all named after plants or flowers that grow in Egypt. Even the dahlia, again, a plant flower that grows in Egypt. That's how we came up with the name. So the acacia deck is the lowest category, and those are staterooms about 196 square feet, and they come with a large picture window. You work your way up. The purple section, that's our standard cabins at 226 square feet, and they come with a French balcony. Then the green, the turquoise, the blue, and the pink, those are all suites, and they all come with a full French balcony and or French balcony. Work your way up, and we have a chef's table. If you've been on an Ama cruise in Europe, you'll know what the chef's table is. It's sort of like a private restaurant. Each night, 13 to 15 guests will be invited to the chef's table, and we'll have the chef on board. We'll come and present a meal, cook a meal, tell you about the history of the food, the flavors, where they come from, and so on like that. It's just a really intimate feeling. On the nights that you're not at the chef's table, you'll dine in the main restaurant. And from the chef's table across, you'll see we have a fitness room, massage room, a hair and nail salon, of course, the bar. We'll also have a wellness coach on board for those that like to do exercise on top of the deck in the morning, yoga, so on like that. That will be available. The other thing I would like to point out is the AmaDahlia does have an elevator from the Acacia deck up to the Jasmine deck, and then stairway up to the top deck. There are some suites that also have adjoining rooms if parents are traveling with their children and they like adjoining rooms. So here's, I'm going to go through some of the artist renditions of the AmaDahlia. We don't have real photos yet. We're just working on that right now. So this is the top deck with the swimming pool. And notice that you see a lot of canopies, umbrellas and stuff like that. And that's because the climate in Egypt is pretty sunny. In fact, I always tell the story of Dina, one of our Egyptologists in Luxor. When I was in Luxor, I said, gosh, Dina, it just looks so dry around here with the desert and so on like that. When was the last time it rained? And she actually said, to be honest with you, maybe 17, 19 years ago. I really don't know. She thought it was a dumb question. But it is dry. And when I went to look up the facts online about rainfall in Luxor and Aswan and stuff, they average less than an inch of rain a year. Maybe just like a half an inch if they get it at all. Cairo's a little wetter, but still very, very dry. So when you come to Egypt, bring your sunscreen, bring a sun hat. You'll be traveling in February with Lisa's group, and this is temperatures will be perfect, probably in the 70s during the day, maybe the 80s, 40s and 50s at night. So it's the perfect time to travel to Egypt. This is also on the top deck. This is where we feature the outdoor restaurant. And the lobby here this is the entrance onto the ship. When you board the ship, this will be our lobby. And you can see it does have the Egyptian theme. In the lounge, so our lounge will feature sip and sail. And you'll be familiar, if you've been to Europe, you'll be familiar. Sip and sail is where we have a happy hour before dinner. And happy hour is complimentary drinks. Some nights it'll be like local wine and beer, maybe be a cocktail of the day. But in any case, there'll be a happy hour. We call it sip and sail, complimentary drinks 1 hour before dinner each night. And then after dinner, we will have entertainment in the lounge, and we'll do things like a belly dance show, or a Darowa show, which is folklore music, and a Galabaya party, which is like a costume party, maybe even a cocktail reception with the captain. In either case, something's going on.
Todd, I want to make a comment. I hope this doesn't throw you off, but the entertainment that Ama brings on board is phenomenal, and it's so delightful to have local encounters like this while you're on the ship cruising. So I love hearing about that.
Cool. Okay, so this is the lounge, and let's just go on to the next slide. Our restaurant, and the restaurant will again feature local cuisine, which is Egyptian / kind of like Mediterranean, as well as continental food. Most of the food will be imported from Europe just for hygiene reasons, and we'll always be able to cater to gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian, so on like that. No problems. We just need to know in advance. Also, on the AmaDahlia, during lunch and dinner, we always include local beer and local wine. And you think about in Egypt, local wine, Egyptian wine, you don't see that on the shelves very often here in the US. And the reason is because there actually are vineyards in Egypt, but not enough to supply the local wine trade. So most of the grapes are imported from South Africa, mixed up with the Egyptian grapes, and they produce their wine. So local wine and local beer, which happens to be Stella, will be available complimentary during lunch and dinner. So let's go through the ship and see what the cabins look like and so on. Here's a view of the AmaDahlia's suite. Remember, the suites are anywhere from 370 to 410 or 430 square feet. Suites come with 2 beds or 1. We just need to know in advance. It comes with a sitting room. You can see that up there on the right-hand side. And then you got an aerial view looking down to the sitting room and the bedroom. Here's a better picture of the sitting room. And if there's 2 adults traveling with a child under the age of 12, we can do a triple in a suite. That couch actually folds out into a bed, but it has to be a child, simply because there's hotels are part of the program here, and hotels don't do triples if the guest is over the age of 12. In the suites, also, you come with a full tub, walk-in shower, and something I never knew was really important, but it is, 2 sinks. So 16 suites, they all come with a two sinks. And then the middle category, category C, these are the rooms that come with a French balcony. And the thing I'd like to point out, whether you're in a suite category C or the lead-in cabins, complimentary Wi-Fi is always available in the room, as well as up in the main deck, and also on-demand TV. This picture here is the lead-in category, category E and D. Remember, the rooms are 196 square feet, and there's good storage in the rooms. There's actually storage under the bed, as well as a big closet. Okay, so that's a look at the AmaDahlia. So let's talk about the program itself. So you'll fly from North America, you'll arrive in Cairo. Most flights in Cairo from North America go through Europe. There are some nonstops. They arrive late in the day, late afternoon, early evening. So we don't plan anything on the first day of arrival. That being said, you'll land at Cairo Airport. We will meet you at the airport. We'll actually assist you through immigration. This is for everybody, whether you buy your own air or book it with Ama, everybody gets a transfer. You need a visa for Egypt. The cost is, it ranges from $25 to $35. And to purchase the visa, you have to apply online. And I would say 3 to 4 weeks before your departure, go online and fill out the form and put in your credit card number, and they'll send you a confirmation. You can get a visa on arrival in Egypt, but it slows you down through the immigration process. And since we're meeting you, if you've got your visa there, we'll be able to get you through immigration much quicker, get your bag after that long flight, and take you over to the Four Seasons Hotel. And the photo here is the Four Seasons Hotel. It's a beautiful hotel overlooking the Nile. And if you remember back to that first photo I showed you of Cairo, and I said it was a chaotic, busy city, this hotel is about a mile south of that. And we picked this hotel because it does give you kind of like a sanctuary, tranquility in the middle of a big city. Look to the right-hand side, you'll see all the trees and so on. There's a botanical garden across the street from the hotel. Hotel itself has 200 rooms, so it's really not a large hotel. Actually, let's take a look at the rooms. Our rooms are the superior rooms, and they come with complimentary Wi-Fi. They also are equipped with a Bose music system, if you're familiar with your stereo sounds. All the rooms will have a partial Nile view, and you can kind of see that to the left-hand side in this slide. Next picture. This is the interior of the hotel with the swimming pool overlooking the Nile, and you can get that feel of the peaceful or tranquility inside the big city. And the hotel itself is equipped, it does come with 6 restaurants, and the restaurants feature cuisine from all around the world. So while we're in Cairo for those 3 nights, we always include breakfast, we always include dinner or lunch, but we don't include dinner. And the simple fact is because after a full day of sightseeing, we get back to the hotel. There's a lot of choices to eat. Guests can have some downtime, and whether they want to eat or not, or pick your cuisine and stuff, so you'll have a free evening. We will on the second night have a short welcome reception to greet everybody and so on like that. But for the most part, your evenings are going to be free. The hotel is equipped with a gym and a spa. And also connected to the hotel is a small shopping mall. So on the first day, you're going to arrive in Egypt. We'll get you through the airport, get you to the hotel. You get a great night's sleep. And then the next day, we're going to head over to the Egyptian Museum. The Egyptian Museum's been around since the 1920s. And actually, the screenshot you see here is of King Tut. They found this mask back in 1925. And the little thing is about King Tut. The mask is at the museum. King Tut, he ruled Egypt for 10 years, from 1332 BC to 1322 BC. What's amazing is that he became king at the age of 9, and 10 years later, at the age of 19, he died. How did he die? There's a lot of controversy about it and so on like that. But for the most part, they figured that it was in a chariot race. So we're going to visit the museum. We'll tour a portion of it, then I give you some free time. And I should mention that in Cairo, they are building a new museum. It's called the Grand Museum, and it's going to be out by the pyramids rather than downtown Cairo. If that museum is open, we will go to that new museum. And I suspect by this departure in 2023, it will be open. It was actually supposed to be open last year, and it got delayed because of COVID. So they're figuring that it should be open by later next year or this year. Amazing thing about this new museum, yes, everything from the old museum will be transferred to the new museum, along with 30,000 additional artifacts, and I have the hard time saying that, antiquities. I can never say it every time. Can someone say it for me? Antiquities, yeah. So I don't know why, that's always been a hard word my whole life. So anyways, so we'll get to see the museum and spend like the morning at the museum, and then we're going to head into central Cairo. I'm going to visit the souk area, and it's actually a great place to hang out in. It's called the Khan al-Kahili Market, and we will do a walking tour of the market. And this market's been around since the 10th century, and this is where all the artisans and craftsmen, this is where all their businesses are. It's a really great place to see how the city operates locally. The other cool thing about this area is that they have coffee houses. Coffee houses have been around Cairo since the 1760s. And you think about it, Starbucks came out in the 1990s. I don't know, maybe a little earlier, I guess, in Seattle. But so the Egyptians were going to coffee houses in 1760. We just started this back in the 1990s. So we will visit a coffee house and / restaurant and have lunch in the marketplace. The food at the restaurant is fantastic. It's 5-star food, and you'll get to experience the market and the coffee house. So we spend the afternoon there, and then we head back to the hotel. You get another free night, and then the next day, we're going to head out to the pyramids. And the pyramids themselves, built of limestone and granite, and they were actually the tallest buildings in the world up until the 14th century. And how long did it take to build the pyramids? Well, they say anywhere from 10 to 30 years. Actually, they said 10 to 20 years. And recently they said it probably took closer to 30 years to build the pyramids. And they were built around 2500 BC, 2560 BC. The pyramids are tombs, and a lot of questions come in, can you go inside the tomb? And the answer is really not really. Sometimes the entrance to the pyramid, to the tomb, is open, but it's not very often. I was there once where I was lucky enough for it to be open, and it's kind of a challenge to get into the heart of the pyramid. You've got to crawl down a really narrow space. Sometimes you got to get sideways or crawl on your knees and then down some stairs and stuff like that. At the time when it was open, they were charging $25 to go inside the pyramid. Of course, the pyramids are tombs. Don't worry, we will see a tomb later on, tombs as we cruise down the Nile. The other question that comes up a lot is, will we be able to ride a camel? The answer is yes. It's not included. And if you're going to do a camel ride, pyramids is where you're actually going to do it. And camels actually aren't even native to Egypt, which is kind of ironic because they are iconic to Egypt. So how much is a camel ride? Well, maybe around, it takes about 15 minutes for a camel ride. You get a picture with the owner and the camel, and he'll tell you the camel ride is $1. And so you hop on, good deal. 15 minutes later, it's $14 to get off the camel. It's a total of $15. So I'm sure by 2023, it'll be $1 on, $19 off. So we'll see how it goes. So, and you got to think about that. Each pyramid consists of about, I don't know, 2.5 million blocks. Those blocks weigh a couple of tons. And how did they get those blocks up to those pyramids? Many of the blocks were transferred down the Nile 500 miles away. And you think about that, 2 tons for a block. Even today, that would be a challenge to get something like that transferred. So the Egyptians were doing it 4,000 years ago. The other thing, the Sphinx, another cool thing, right around the pyramids, the Sphinx is, head of a king, body of a lion. This Sphinx built around the same time as the pyramids, 2500 BC. That's King Khafre that you're looking there. What's remarkable is this is carved out of one stone. They'd say it probably took about 3 years to build. All right, also when we're out of the pyramids, we're gonna have lunch at the Mena House. And Mena House is a pretty cool place. It was a hunting lodge back in the 1860s. And in those days, Europeans used to come down to Egypt and hunt hippos and crocodiles in the Nile Delta. Of course, they don't do that now. But the architecture of the Mena House is absolutely, it's really, really cool. Yeah, they've added on a hotel to the original lodge, but we're going to have lunch at the Mena House, where the lodge is, overlooking the pyramids, and it will be a 5-star lunch. And then afterwards, we're going to head back into central Cairo. We're going to stop at a synagogue and a church, and then we'll get back to the hotel where you'll have a free night. Then you have free night. Next morning, we're going to transfer to Cairo Airport, and we're going to fly to Luxor. And this is where you board the ship. So the flight from Cairo to Luxor takes about an hour, and you'll land in Luxor, and then we'll transfer you to the AmaDahlia. We have our own private dock in Luxor. You'll get on the ship, check into your room, and have lunch on board. And then we're going to head for our first walking tour. And Luxor itself, probably known as the world's greatest outdoor museum. Luxor is an Arabic word that means sort of fortress or castle. And in ancient Egypt, it was the ancient capital, this was the place to be. And they're still uncovering, parts of the tomb and temples in this part of the world. It's an absolutely amazing city. And the first temple we're going to visit is the Luxor Temple, and they built this one around 1400 BC. When they found it, it was covered in sand, and a lot of questions come up about walking tours and how we tour different areas and stuff like that. So the way it works in Egypt is that starting in Cairo, there's 68 guests. We're going to split you all up into 20 to 23 guests, and you get your own Egyptologist for each group. So there'll be 3 Egyptologists. The Egyptologists, they're university graduated, educated. They have to have a special license. And that Egyptologist will travel with you and your small group throughout the whole journey. There's also like an AMA cruise director or tour director that oversees the Egyptologists and our guests and stuff. So you always have someone from AMA with you at the same time. The walking tours of the temples, people ask, well, what are the dress code of the temples to dress? You just wear your shorts, t-shirt, hat, pants, whatever makes you comfortable. Just have good walking shoes. How long are the tours? Walking tours are anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And I should mention that these temples are the way they were built 1,500 or 2,000 to 4,000 years ago. So some of the pathways and stuff like that can be kind of rough. They don't have ramps or handrails or benches to sit on and so on like that. So you should be able to walk anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, because that's the maximum of a walking tour, is about 2 hours. So I'm going to point out some of the temples that we're going to visit along the Nile. And this one I'm going to put out is Queen. This is just like antiquities. I have this one too. Queen Hatshepsut. And to be honest with you, I asked Magdi, who I work with in Egypt, Cairo, I says, Magdi, I don't know how to say Hatshepsut. And he just said, just say hot chicken soup. So that's what I say now. Is
I have to interrupt. Really,
it's a hard word to say.
Hot cheap suit.
Hot chip suit.
Hot cheap suit. Like a hot cheap suit. Hot chip suit.
No, that I took like 8 years of elocution growing up, but I still can't say some of these words. So anyway, Queen Hot Chicken Soup. She reigned Egypt for 20 years. She was the first female leader, and you think about it, female leader of Egypt for 20 years, thousands of years ago, and you get a female leader today, president, prime minister, whatever, it's a big deal. It wasn't a big deal in those days. And when you're in Cairo or Egypt now, you're going to see statues of Queen Hot Chicken Soup, and she has a beard, she has a crown, super broad shoulders, because she was a fearless leader, and they looked at her that way. After her reign ended, her son took over. Another neat thing we're going to do is visit the tomb of Queen Nefertari. And Queen Nefertari, she was the first queen of King Ramses. She was the most beautiful, they say. She was educated. She could read. She could write. She married King Ramses at the age of 13. He was 15. And this tomb is really exclusive to get into. You'll find that most companies don't include it, and they don't include it because it's really expensive to get into. In fact, this tomb was kind of ignored for the longest time, and then they started digging around in it back in the 1980s, and it's only been recently that they've kind of opened it to a limited public access. In fact, to give you an idea, it's like $130 per person just to get in this tomb. It's included with AmaWaterways, but that's why a lot of other companies don't include it, is because it's so expensive, and you have to have reservations. They only take a certain amount of people each day, but it's included with AmaWaterways. The tomb itself, 5,500 square feet, so it's a big tomb. And when you get into this tomb, look at the drawings, and there's actually handwritten notes King Ramses wrote to Queen Nefertari, and there's also poems in there that he hand wrote to Queen Nefertari. So this is something that's really, really cool to see, and it's probably something that you'll take with you for many years down the road when you return back home from Egypt. This temple here I put in, Temple of Horus, built not as old, 250, was built around 250 BC. And the only reason I put it in here, it's considered one of the best preserved temples. They found it back in 1860. There was a French archaeologist in the area, and he was digging around, and he came across something hard, and this is the temple that he found. When I say he was digging around, what he was digging around was a sand dune, and that covered this whole temple. They didn't even know it was under this sand dune. So it was quite a find when they did find it. Okay, the Nile River. When you cruise down the Nile, the ancient Egyptians always said, they didn't say sunrise, they said the birth of the day. And they never said sunset, they said the death of the day. And when you're down the Nile, it's ironically, the temples are on the east side of the river where the sun rises, or the birth of the day. Tombs are on the west side of the river, or where the sun sets, the death of the day. So they had it all figured out. The other neat thing is you will do a felucca ride when you're on the Nile. And feluccas that's the traditional way of getting around. The locals get around on the Nile. Another neat thing we're going to visit is a Nubian village. Nubians are really special. They were the first settlers in Egypt. They came from the central Sahara, probably around 8,000 BC. Remember, ancient Egypt was founded around 3,500 BC. And so the Nubians were in Egypt, down in southern Egypt, northern Sudan, up around 8,000 BC. So they would be considered like the indigenous here in the US, or First Nations in Canada, Inuit up in the Arctic. They were the first ones here. And so we'll visit a Nubian village. And they're incredibly colorful. And you can look at this photo here, and what makes this kind of remarkable is you look all the drawings and carvings on the outside of this particular home. It's not just a mishmash of artwork. Actually, what you're looking at is the history or the story of this particular family that lives in this home. And meet the Nubians. And when we go to a Nubian village, you know, other companies visit different Nubian villages along the way, and that's great. And they go, you visit, you're there for about 40 minutes, you turn around and go back to the boat and have lunch. But with Ama, we are going to visit this really great Nubian village, and we're going to walk around the village with the locals. We'll visit its market and so on, but we'll take it one step further, and we'll actually have lunch with the locals in the village. So it's all about people-to-people interactions. Yes, temples, tombs, all that kind of stuff, but we also take back great stories of the people we meet. There's no doubt about it. Okay, Abu Simbel. I wanted to bring this up. This is a really unique temple. And the first time I saw this temple, I didn't know what I was going to see. And then when I saw it, it was like seeing the pyramids for the first time, or the Great Wall of China, Grand Canyon, or even the, you know, Machu Picchu, something like that. And so this temple is up 200 miles south of Aswan. And the only way to get there during our time is to fly. And so a limited number of people get to go to Abu Simbel. Abu Simbel itself was built by King Ramses for Queen Nefertari on the shores of the Nile, or the banks of the Nile. And then back, this is about 3,000 years ago, a little less. Anyways, it was in use for about 1,000 years, and then it was abandoned. But it was on the shores of the Nile. And then back in the late 50s, 1950s, early 60s, they built the High Dam, or the Aswan Dam near. And they built the dam, and the lake that was going to form behind it is Lake Nasser. The water would rise in Lake Nasser. It was going to cover Abu Simbel. And so the government took the temple apart, brought brick by brick by brick, moved it up the hill 600 feet, and rebuilt it. And what's really neat about it is on February 21st, the sun comes up over the horizon, or the birth of the day. The first rays will shine right through that door out the other side of the temple. Also on October 21st, as the sun comes up over the horizon, the first rays will go right through that door outside the other temple. And why are those days really special? It's because February 21st was King Ramses' birthday. October 21st was his coronation. And I have to admit, when they rebuilt, they brought the temple up brick by brick, and they rebuilt it again. It might have been a little off, because sometimes when the sun comes over the horizon, the first rays on October 22nd and February 22nd come through that doorway. So they might have been off by about 24 hours. But it's okay. It's still a remarkable feat. And with Ama, because there's a limited number of seats available, because it's limited to the number of seats on that flight, you can pre-book it with us, you know, as an optional trip at the time of booking. So you're guaranteed a seat on the plane. Most other companies sell it as an optional trip while you're on the cruise, and sort of like first come, first serve. So if this is a place that you really wanted to see, you're actually guaranteed a seat on the plane. I would say probably about 80% of the guests will take this trip. 20% will have a free morning in Aswan. Anyways, it's something to look at. It is a remarkable temple, and I do recommend it's a once-in-a-lifetime optional trip down to Abu Simbel.
Todd, this is one that I'm just really quick. This is one that you mentioned to Abu Simbel that for my guests that are going in 2022, I have pre-booked this for them so they can make sure and go. So excellent description. And, you know, if you're there, I mean, you've got to go, right? So anyway, thank you for telling us about that optional tour.
Yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to see. The whole trip itself takes about 4 hours from the ship. It's about a 40-minute flight down to Abu Simbel. We're only allowed to be at the temple for 2 hours. Okay. And then we fly back to the ship. So you leave in the morning, you'll be back in time for lunch.
Okay.
Okay. Karnak Temple. This is considered the largest temple. And this is actually where, on the walking tours, this walking tour would be about 2 hours. Karnak Temple is considered the largest religious outdoor structure seen in the world. Covers about 250 acres, close to 2,500 years old. Just look at the columns, absolutely spectacular. And then another temple, last temple I want to talk about is the Temple of Hathor in Dendera. This is considered one of the best preserved temples in Egypt, and it's got some Egyptian, Greek, and Roman architecture in it. And again, over 2,000 years old. And you look in the foreground there, you can kind of see it looks like a swimming pool, and it was. And they had like swimming pools and sacred pools, and it's filled with gravel now, and you can't go swimming in there now. But if you think about it, 2,000 years ago, the Egyptians were swimming in pools. And for us to do that today, I mean, when's the last time I went swimming in a pool? But if I did go in the pool, we get excited about it. So again, the Egyptians were way ahead of their time. So anyway, we've just spent 7 nights down on the Nile, on the AmaDahlia. So we've got to fly back to Cairo for 1 night at the end. And so we'll take a morning flight back up to Cairo. And on arrival in Cairo, we're going to visit the Abdeen Presidential Palace. And this palace was built in 1873. The monarchy lived there at one point. Now the president stays in a portion of this palace. It's also a palace where when dignitaries come to Egypt, this is where they stay. And in this palace, there's a couple of small museums. There's a historic clock museum. There's an art museum. There's even a little museum of gifts that dignitaries have brought when they've come to visit Egypt. So to get into this temple, it's difficult and it's incredibly expensive, but it's included with it. And so we're going to do a walking tour of a portion of the palace. We can't see the whole thing because part of it's still a private residence. But we're going to take it one step more. And what we're going to do is have a lunch inside the palace. And we're going to call this kind of like a farewell lunch. And the reason for that is flights back to North America on our last day tend to leave pretty early in the morning, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And so we feel like if we have a sort of a celebration in the afternoon for the last day, it's better than doing it in the evening because guests would be a little antsy. They got to, pack, get ready for the long flight home and so on like that. Better to have fun in the afternoon, if that makes sense. So we'll do a tour and a farewell lunch at the Presidential Palace. We'll stop in Old Cairo on the way back to the hotel. And that night, you'll have a free evening. And next morning, we'll take you to the airport in time to connect with your flight home. One thing I know a lot of us, we're also at home a lot these days, and we turn to Netflix or HBO and so on like that. And I want to recommend a documentary that I think you'll enjoy. It's called The Secrets of the Saqqara Tomb. And this only came out about 3 or 4 months ago. And they found this tomb. The story is, it's a recent documentary. They started filming this documentary in 2019. They finished in the early part of last year during the beginning of the COVID. And this tomb is out by the pyramids, and they started exploring, digging into this tomb back in early 19. And so this documentary is the chronicle of them digging into the tomb, showing what they find, and it just, the suspense and so on just builds up as you get more and more into this documentary. The last 10 minutes is pretty amazing, and it's a great way to escape from what's going on in the world these days and just see what's going on. This will also get you really excited to come to Egypt. So if you remember, that's our trip of Egypt. But if you remember, I did mention there's a pre and a post that you can do on this program. And first one is 4 nights in Jordan. And you would do this before your trip. And what you would do is you're flying to Jordan. You need a visa for Jordan, but we get that for you, and you'll get it on arrival when you arrive in Amman. We're going to spend the first 2 nights in Amman. This is the largest city in Jordan. It's a very historic city. In fact, some of the statues in this city are over 7,000 years old. When we're in Amman, we're going to stay at the 5-star St. Regis Hotel. And here's a good picture of it. It's just gone through renovation. And on the second day in Jordan, we will tour the historic area of Amman, and then we're going to head north. And we're going to head north to a place called Jerash, which is sort of a Greco-Roman settlement. built around the 2nd century. You can see the architecture here. It's kind of got that Roman Greek type Colosseum. This is about 40 miles north of Amman, and we'll explore Jerash, and we'll also have lunch out there, sort of like at a historic castle-like restaurant. And then on the 3rd day, we're going to drive down to Petra. And we've all seen Petra. We know this scene here from the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Petra was a community or a settlement, first settled probably around 5000 BC. And it was a massive settlement, maybe of 30 to 50,000 people up to around the 2nd century. And then it was abandoned. And the city survived because they could get water. This was in the desert. How did they get their water? They built these massive conduits from the mountains where there was snow, and snow melted and they brought the water down. Similar today where you have canals and stuff bringing water. That's how this city survived with the water. However, change in trading routes, drought, some war and so on like that, the city was abandoned in the 2nd or 3rd century. It wasn't discovered again until around 1830 by a Swiss traveler. So we're going to spend 2 nights down here. We will explore Petra with its 800 tombs and structures and so on like that. And when we're in this part of the world, we are going to stay at the Old Village Resort. And the Old Village Resort, you've become to use the 5-star service throughout the whole program with AmaWaterways, with the hotels and so on. This hotel, I have to admit, is a 4-star hotel. But there's reasons why you pick this hotel. Number one, the architecture of the rooms is really cool. Petra can be a hot destination in terms of temperature at certain times of the year. And so this has this cooling effect with the rock. It's kind of built within the rocky, cliffy structure of Petra. Petra itself today, there is a community there. It's about 5,000 people who live here. This hotel is owned by the locals. And so we thought, let's support the local community. And as our guests, they're supporting the local community. There are a couple of international chain hotels in the area. We chose this so we support the local community. And it is so local that they don't even have a liquor license at this hotel because, you know, liquor in this part of the world is kind of taboo. So they don't feel it's necessary. And when in Rome, be like the Romans. Is that something like that? So what they say? So anyways, that's 4 nights in Jordan. And then we'll fly you to Cairo to join the 12-night or a 12-day trip on the Nile. The other option is to visit Israel, and you can do this at the end of the trip. And we'll fly from Cairo to Tel Aviv. It's a short flight, about 90 minutes. It's actually on an obscure airline called Air Sinai. And we'll do 4 nights in Jerusalem. Now, this extension is not for somebody, like if Christianity is really important to you and it's part of your history, you want to explore it more, you're probably going to go to Israel for 10 days or 2 weeks. Also, you know, if you're Jewish and you want to explore your Jewish heritage and all about the Jewish history and so on, you're going to go to Israel for 10 days, 2 weeks. But if you want to just get a taste of everything and what Israel has to offer in Jerusalem, then this is the type of extension because it's only going to be 4 nights. Yeah, when we're in Jerusalem, we'll tour Tel Aviv, the historic part of Tel Aviv. We'll visit Bethlehem, Tomb of King David. We'll visit the Jewish quarter, and we'll also visit the local market where the locals go to, you know, shopping and stuff like that. There's a lot of most of the tours here are a lot of walking in Jerusalem. It's a good walking city, and when we're there, we will stay at the Waldorf Astoria, and this is a 5-star hotel close to the city center. Another neat thing, remember how I said we're touching on things that, you know, highlights of Israel and Jerusalem itself? We will take a day trip outside of Jerusalem and we'll visit Masada. And Masada is a Hebrew word meaning fortress. And this fortress of Masada was built around 30 BC by King Herod. And it was the final site of the first Jewish-Roman war. And to get to Masada, it's just outside Jerusalem. You have to take a cable car to get to the top. So if you look at the left-hand side of the hill there, you can kind of see a black thing sticking out. and that's the cable car. So you'll board the cable car, we'll go to the top of Masada, and we'll do a walking tour of this place. In fact, Masada was a place where the elite, the rich and the famous, this is where they used to go, I guess, to escape. And then also in this photo, look in the distance there, you can kind of see some water there. And that is actually the Dead Sea. So after Masada, we're going to drive down and we're going to visit the Dead Sea. And Dead Sea is, it's the lowest elevation, is below sea level anywhere in the world. Anywhere ranges from 1,400 to 1,700 feet below sea level. It ranges because the level of the sea goes up and down. So when we're down on the Dead Sea, you will get the opportunity, if you want, to go float in the Dead Sea. When I say that, because the Dead Sea is one of the most salty, the salinity content is so high that it's almost impossible to sink. And so it's just a fun thing to do. That's not me in the photo, but you will have the opportunity. We're actually going to visit a resort on the Dead Sea where we'll have lunch, included lunch, but you'll also have the opportunity, if you want, to go in the Dead Sea. If you don't, you can hang out at the resort. I do see sometimes when you go into spas and stuff like that, they sell Dead Sea mud or Dead Sea salt. So maybe you take 45 minutes and have a facial or something like that, or just hang out along the Dead Sea. It's really a great place to visit. So that's the end of the portion of Israel. So your last night in Jerusalem, on the last day, we'll transfer you back to Tel Aviv Airport for your flight home. So I hope I wasn't too long. I think, Lisa, would you like to say a few things?
No, that was just, I'm kind of sitting on the edge of my seat here because I'm visually walking through these days myself, and you paint such a detailed picture about it, and it's just fantastic. And, you can see by this. Now, Todd, tell us how many countries you have been to. Me and Brandon were trying to guess the other day, and we forgot.
How many what?
How many countries?
Oh, I read somewhere you're not supposed to tell anyone that because it makes it sound like you're bragging.
Tell us, please.
I don't know. The last time I counted was like 88.
Wow.
Okay, so phenomenal. I mean, Todd, and you've created and designed this trip. And if I was creating a trip, I would handpick it exactly how you did it. It's phenomenal. And we're so delighted to bring this to our clients. And so we do river cruising right. You can see that AmaWaterways does river cruising right, and we love partnering with Ama and bringing special dates and group departures to our clients. And we're so delighted that we have actually worked diligently with AmaWaterways to bring you 2022 pricing for sailing and traveling in 2023. This is very limited, and it's our date of it's February 10th, 2023, and our special group departure, we have $500 off right off the top, and exclusive to Great Escapes. Brandon, we have a show special. Do you want to tell my clients and viewers about our show special?
Yes, we have a promotion this is for new bookings only. Anybody who makes a booking by February 25th through Lisa at Great Escapes, I will give you an additional 100 per person discount.
That's fantastic. And so if you're going to get the $500 off for our group departure, and 200, there's 700 off the top right there. That is based on double occupancy. If you have sailed on AmaWaterways previously, even if it's coming up, but you've sailed before this departure, you're also eligible to combine past loyalty reward savings along with this, which is adding to a little sweetness to the experience there and to the savings. But river cruising done right, and this is an experience that you need to treat yourself to. We all want those vacations to look forward to, and not only do I have the special group departures that we talk about here, but I have access to the entire AmaWaterways portfolio, and there are things that I can visit with you and guide my clients to the best experience for them. And there's things that I host, as well as departures that if you want to go on your own, we can find those opportunities. And I have the insider tips to guide you to that. And so basically, let's reiterate. You can get for signing up before March 31st, 2021, our exclusive group rate of $500 off. And the show special, Brandon, you said that's by February
25th.
February 25th. And you know, on this slide, on the screen right here, we have a QR code. This QR code will take you to my webpage that is dedicated to just this itinerary. And I am an AmaWaterways certified specialist. I have sailed with AmaWaterways. I know the service level and the experiences that are included. And when Todd has just done an amazing, fantastic job setting this up. So let me see if there's any questions or comments, if I can access that. You know, I'm not sure that we do have any questions that have come in, but if there's anything that you are interested in, let's reach out and have that conversation and visit. I'll post my phone number here. So there's my phone number. And again, there it is on the screen again with my QR code that will take you directly to my website. And it's just a page that is tailored just for this itinerary. And so let's have those amazing trips to look forward to and visit and have that conversation. Thank you. And basically, I think you guys, that's pretty much it for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so thank you, viewers, for joining in. We are so delighted to bring you this exclusive date. And let's visit for this, and let's put Egypt on the books for you. Let's get this going. Todd, Brandon, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Stay well. Stay safe.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye.